Aw yeah, Javelin's coming in to save the set. Javelin's accessory looks way better, and the parts of it peg together better than the sniper bit for Kaskade. There's only 3 parts to this one, as you can see. Although, unlike the pieces of Kaskades, these can't really be separately wielded. Like, if you take off this scope part and the barrel part, then what you're left with is still a gun, and then 2 pieces that the figure can't hold any other way. So, like, I feel like the reason it dismantles is just for the sake of dismantling. She can hold it in her hand just fine. And yeah. I mean, it's a little bit awkward. That's because I haven't really had much opportunity to futz with the figure's joints, so everything's still a little bit stiff. But yeah, she does look way better wielding her weapon than Kaskade does, so already this thing is doing better for me. Now, the only reason I can see why her weapon dismantles is to accommodate this. Like, you can peg these dismantled pieces of her gun onto these parts of her backpack. Then these things close over them. And then the main part of her gun can peg onto her back. So, you know, like, essentially they wanted to show off how nifty her weapon storage is. Yeah, isn't that epic and life-changing? So her vehicle panels make good weapon storage. That's fine, I guess. I mean, you know what? I'm just gonna leave them on her back there just while we break down her articulation and new sculpting. So yeah, like, you can probably see the DNA of Bumblebee Movie Deluxe RC, which is not only, like, she's easily one of my top 3 favorite RCs, and probably one of my favorite female Transformer molds of all time. Like, that figure looked amazing, and I felt like it was kind of a waste that they used such engineering on RC, a character who's already had so many toys, and a bunch of good ones too. So seeing it used again to make a different character makes me super happy. And they didn't just, like, repaint RC. Like, there's a lot of legitimate new molding here. Like, unlike the Kaskade figure, I don't get the impression that there's just greeble for the sake of greeble. Like, these panels all look like they have intent and good placement. Like, she legitimately looks like she has more purpose. She doesn't just have details for the point of it. And it's funny because, like, her head sculpt actually has less details because she doesn't really have, like, a face. You can see her mouth there coming out the bottom of her helmet, but everything else is covered. Really cool looking, but, you know, it's kind of ironic. Lots of amazing detailing done in her chest and midriff. I think the legs are pretty much the same as they were in RC, but, you know, that's fine. And no issues with weird kibble here. Everything about this figure just... he says as he gets the shin part. Wow, that really clicked into place pretty well, didn't it? What did I do? There we go. Yeah, like this. That's supposed to just kind of rest there for the leg transformation, and then it pegs in solidly for being, you know, her vehicle. Although, like, I noticed some... Okay, this is something that I noticed a little bit with Kaskade, but it seems to be coming up here. Some of the tabs don't seem to want to fit the way that they did on the original version of the mold. Like, I'm finding I'm having a hard time getting her feet to stay straight because I can't get this peg to go in. It's supposed to go like that, and then that's her foot. And then it goes up like this. But it frictions itself out of place on this version of the mold. Like, did they lose the original mold for the foot, and then when they had to recast it and it's slightly different? Is that what happened? Or did the mold degrade? Which is weird, because this is only the second time they're using it. Like, mold degradation isn't something that should kick in so fast. Like, like how many times did they make the Seeker? Like I remember, but I bought the Thundercracker version of that mold, and it still worked just fine. And even then, that was like several uses into it. So like I don't know, it just seems weird to me that I'm getting something that feels like mold degradation on a mold that's only seeing its second use. It's weird, isn't it? I think it's weird. But yeah, like if you can just wrestle with those tabs to make them sit right, the rest of the figure works pretty darn great. Like her joints are nice and tight. They hold poses. Everything about this mold still holds up. It is a beautiful mold. The changes that they made give it its own identity. It's unique. It's beautiful. I love it. So that being said, everything I could say about this robot mode is fine, aside from some little foibles of a couple of tabs here and there, but none of that really compromises the figure's design. It looks just as good as it did that first time, and I think it's beautiful. And I love this color scheme, this lilac and salmon pink thing that it has going on. It's a unique scheme I haven't seen very often. So, yeah, like, everything about this just plain old looks good. I like it. It's good. After the underwhelming remold that was Kaskade, like, Kaskade was mostly a repaint with a new head. This is a genuine remold, and I feel like this is where like 80 or 90% of this set's budget truly went. So let's get her into vehicle mode so we can see how that's different from the RC version. Real quick, I just wanted to show the original version of the mold next to its sister so we could see what changed. Basically, you got the new head, the new chest piece, and the new kibble on the back, whereas the arms and legs are essentially exactly the same, just in different colors. But yeah, like I said, this is a lot more remolding than Kaskade did, who only had a new head and some new accessory parts, while, you know, this does a much better job of making this mold into its own identity. As for quality, it turns out the reason I wasn't getting the feet to work a minute ago was because I had misaligned the little divot that they make in the back of the wheel to accommodate the foot. With that straightened up, the foot works a lot better. So the only real issue is that there's a peg that holds the chest together here on the torso that's a little bit misshapen. The peg is a little bit too big to go into its slot. So I'm not sure if you're seeing that there's a slight crookedness to the transformation here. Like this half of the panel is closer than that half. And sometimes because that thing isn't in as well as it can go, it can come unpegged when I move the shoulders, because the peg isn't holding it in as good and the friction on the joints can overwhelm it and make it pop out. But aside from that, this is a pretty fantastic reuse of the mold. And here is Javelin's vehicle mode. I think that's why the gun barrel looks like this. It kind of looks kind of sword-like, so, you know, Javelin, you get it? Okay, I'm gonna say, when you put the weapon on top of the vehicle mode, it does not look quite as good as the weapon on top of Kaskade. Kaskade definitely pulls off the car with a weapon sticking out of its roof look better than Javelin does. That being said, if you take the weapon off, the vehicle mode you get for Javelin looks pretty darn good. It's kind of Tron-esque. I like how it has like these little intakes and these small wings. You have like her little face. Ooh, you know what? You know what? This reminds me of the Beast Machine's motorcycle Viacon. Like, you know, like, does anybody remember in Beast Machines you had the Viacons, which when they transformed into their vehicle modes, they kind of still had heads? Like, that kind of looks like Thrust's head. Like, I could kind of see this being, like, you would have to do a lot of changes to the vehicle mode, but, like, but these are the legs, fused together with one wheel. Like, you did a little bit of remolding to make this wheel, like, bigger so it could pull off the whole monocycle thing. And yeah, this could totally be a thrust. You want to do a Beast Machines thrust? Remold RC into it. So yeah, there's your free idea, Hasbro. Consider it payback for for the terrible showing you did with Kaskade over there. But yeah, like, this is a great looking vehicle. It differentiates itself from the RC mold, both with the new colors. Like I said, I am loving this purple and lilac look that it has going on. And the new parts that they made for, like, yeah, those are still the hands back there, not much you can do about it. But aside from that, the new parts, like, they do a great job in making this thing look unique and interesting. I genuinely like it. It doesn't have, like, any pegs for blast effects like you do on the other figure. But really, like, I like how it just has this clean look all its own. It is what it is. It's a very good looking vehicle, and the only gimmick port that it has is the one 5mm port to stick a weapon on the roof. Yeah, very clean, very beautiful, very good reuse of a mold, especially a mold that we've only ever seen used once before. So there we go. We have quite a dual tale that we told here. One of a figure that's not very good, and a figure that is quite excellent in the same 2-pack. One that's a mold that's been overused and is in fact the inferior version of said overused mold, versus a mold that's only been used once before and shines once again in a new and interesting way. Little bit of mold degradation, as there's some small details with tabs not wanting to go in perfectly, but overall the build quality of both figures is quite alright. And well, that's pretty much all I got to say. So yeah, thanks for sitting through all this with me. This is Wake Angel 2001 signing off.